another boy with antlers. I got antlers on that boy.
The three are girls. But those three are girls. Two are girls.
We got it mostly cleaned out. I'm gonna have my brother help me with that, but mostly cleaned out and ready. We've run our string lines just to give us a nice outside line and give us a good rough for our pad placement for our deck. So we got to have, 18 or 20 inch pads for a 6 foot spacing on a deck like this. It's not heavy and super overkill, but if we just do what they say, then they don't really have anything to say when it's done. The individuals are this obviously is not 6 feet. That's just the end. We ran the line from the other side. And then the other thing that we're probably going to work on is just going to get the band board. And this is going to be a 2x6 joisted deck, which means that the band board only needs to be 2x8, which should mean that we can work out to use the mud sill on this side, which we couldn't on the other side. So frost depth here is something along the lines of 12 inches. That'd be an incredible freeze. Pretty much never seen the ground do that here, but it does somewhere in places in Oregon. So we're just taking these down about that far and getting, more or less a nice little hole for us to have our footings just direct poured. And then we'll take a 12-inch sonotube, just right up from there as high as we think it needs to go. Won't be very far. I mean, honestly, we probably could go direct onto that if we didn't have grade that we were looking at, just because, if you look at this from the side, it's not like we're going up very far. Band board on, and we're just going to run this one and then take it down way across the existing board on the other side. This is just a 2x8 because, as mentioned, we're going from 10-foot length of span to a 6 foot, so the joist can be 2x6, and the band board therefore can be 2x8, which means that on the bottom, we can find that rim, that board, the mud sill, and screw into that instead at the bottom of the joist on either side using the DTT 2, I think. So this just takes 16 on centers. I have seen them staggered, more like ... online, but I'm going to follow what the plan had in it, and then that way there's never any question. Pig, 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 pig. So just in case you're wondering, the order of preference is carbohydrates and sweet treats like apples, nuts, and then vegetables. That onion will probably sit till the very last. The squash will go after they're done with these nuts. But just listen to these pigs. So I'm making Ben use my terrible concrete drill.
Not a concrete drill. It's a
You're right.
drill.
It's a normal drill, but I don't have a concrete drill. I'm gonna make Ben use this. I've already used the battery out on that old rigid over there. We have 3 holes to dig, drill, whatever. So, there's that. So this is the wall that faces towards the east, and we did not get the tape done on this yet. So we're gonna get this taped up real quick, and then that will enable us to be able to run our band board across. And at that point, we'd be able to potentially get started on running the substructure of the deck after getting the posts up. So drill in the holes, have our first one on, and yes, that's the best I could do as far as placement on that one. Concrete guy. So we're working on a lot of the little bits and pieces that we'll need to be ready for inspection. Not that we're that close yet, but we're getting there. And we need to put the straps on for the deck anyways, so we're doing the rest of the ground level ones while we're at it. And I'm just hanging them and drop a tape from the windowsill, knowing the height. We need to have 1.5 feet on either side of the rim joist. So I figure that, drop it, I'm just putting in one screw to temp it on either of these, and then I can bang in all the nails. Makes it easy. So we need to figure out, you know, how to get this deck to the height we need it to be and how to get these outside posts. So the way that we chose to do it is we ran a surveying tool, shot a line out, measured down each of the posts, but also then measured how far from our rim, our band board, down before we hit that same line, and then just basically added those together, and that gives us the height of the outside posts. The beam that's going to run across is below the height of the rim joist because the deck boards come out over the beam, they don't hanger off of the beam. And so we had to subtract that and then give it a slight slope, you know, 1/8 or so per foot, 1/8 of an inch, and that gave us our measure for how high we got to cut these. So we're in January now, and we've got 4 big pigs here. That fella right there is our boar. That's the largest lady. And we've got, this one was the best mama, so that's why she's smallest. She put a lot of energy into her piglets. And then we've got one more bigger girl up there. And the 2 big ones are fattening up quite nicely, and we are headed towards slaughter by the end of the month. And so, yep, and that's why I'm not worried about any funny business, because we only have about 2 weeks left. And it'd be nice for them to be able to be out. There's a containment up there for the boar and for the big girl because she was eating too much of the other 2's rationed feed. And we're gonna kind of just move on from that. As they're so close to the end, I'm gonna feed them some more. We've got some hazelnuts we've managed to get our hands on, thanks to my parents. And we've bought some extra feed, you know, more of a pig specific feed rather than the grass clover that we've always given them, which, you know, as far as speed of growth, not necessarily quality of meat, you know, your grains are going to provide speed of growth. They are just a lot more fat and a lot more protein. So we've let them out, and I've pulled the trailer over here up to the edge of the pen. Hi, cutie. And they can now get into the trailer for the next week and a half, 10 days, whatever it is, 2 weeks. And that will let them get used to the trailer, throwing a log underneath. They're pretty big, not really able to fit under a space that small anymore, but this way they won't try. You know, it's backed up against the gate on that side with a couple things thrown in just to block them in. There's the piglets pen, and we're gonna start feeding them into here a little bit. I'll still use that as one feed station, this guy, that one over there, and I may even just walk up and throw some into the upper feeder up there, just because then that way we don't have the big girl pushing all of the others out of the way so that she can steal their food. This is the difference between a pig who is motivated by food, these 3 here, hi stupids, and the big girl. So Casey, how do you feel about this?
Which part of it?
The putting up the beam.
It's fine.
All of our other work before we put the roof on.
A lot easier. Do you want tall ladder or short ladder, I guess, is your other question.
Well,
Since you have trouble lifting up.
I should probably take the tall ladder, I would think.
Okay, should we switch sides so that you're up at a nailie height and can adjust your centerpiece?
My centerpiece?
Yeah. The center is the center.
Well, do you think you can get it to look like it's centered? Big boy.
Sure.
I don't know that that's really gonna matter all that much. This one is unbraced. Should we
That's
try and
true.
brace that a little bit, maybe?
We could. We could stick Casey underneath and have her hold it because she's very strong. She's been practicing her strongness. Oh, it's fairly hefty.
When it's one side, it's not quite so bad. I can probably get this up into position if you
Open.
if you just kind of help me and start me out a little bit. Oh, wow, okay. Where are you going? Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? Where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? On top of the ladder. Okay. Now.
Stuff where I really have no strength.
Yeah.
So.
Slow. Hold. Hold.
Are we going flat side down? Jeremy, are we correct in this?
It says top.
Okay.
Alright, I'm somewhat in.
I have to go a little further your way.
Yep.
Or
Hold on, stop.
Okay, I'm not moving.
You're bending me at a weird angle.
Sorry.
So I'm having trouble pushing it in.
Sorry. What do I have to do?
Alright, I should be through.
Okay, I'm gonna go up. More. Let's do it.
Right. What do you want me doing now?
Brace. While Ben's working, brace his ladder.
Okay.
Let's go your way just a hair.
Yep.
Oh, shh.
Make it.
Oh, yeah. This is what. Fire. I was born of this. Yeah, give me back my glove. You rotten piece of poop. Hey, that worked pretty good.
So we'll secure your side first, Ben.
Okay.
And then this side, we will get both of them plumbed
Right.
up.
Right.
And then secure the outside. So we are holding this in place. I can actually take this one off now, but we stabilized each of these two posts, and then we put on this side first, not attached, and then Ben got that into position, and we nailed it in here first because we wanted it to be in the middle of the post. Obviously it's splitting it that with another one that goes this way, so it needs to be half. Then we came back over here and brought this in such that when this post was plumbed, this post also became plumbed this side to side. And that's how we determined where that was going to sit, and then just nailed it in. And then the next step, which is where we just got the first board on, obviously, is we need to also plumb it forward and backward towards the house. And to do that, we have our layout. I've got one that we're going to put a board on right there. Outside is a double. And we have one that we've already secured here. And I just did the layout, and then on the outside, instead of bothering to do a layout, I simply put one of the speed squares up against it and determined where it was flat, and that's where the board goes. And then we've got a hurricane tie holding that in place relative to that guy. That's also secured, and that will hold this in place while we do the rest of our work. So very simple way to get yourself squared up and plumbed up, such as it is with your structure. My structure, especially at this level, is not as square as I would like due to, as you all know, the foundation being pretty whack.
Beam of such a tall ladder with an area of protection.
Okay, so what do you want me to do?
You're helping him to begin
Help me,
with.
Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda.
Okay.
Help me, Rhonda. Yeah. Up in. Almost there. Forward. Okay, forward more. 1 second. Okay. Alright. We're back in the saddle again.
Okay.
I'll try and keep it together as you do your thing. And Casey,
Don't
you help
rush
him.
hands.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, should I just stay out steady the ladder?
Yeah, out from under the board though. Just in case.
Yep.
Go in. Go, you stupid.
Son of a monkey. It's sweet.
I know.
Do you want me to grab a hammer? Okay. Works there.
So is my neck. It's great.
I gotta get that to come this way about half an inch. Oh.
Did it work?
Well, no, push the whole thing.
Fine. Hold on.
Now push. Alright, that's what we're gonna get, it looks like.
Well, we didn't cut those faces, so I mean.
It's probably fine.
It's fine.
It's fine, my guys. We're all fine here now.
I need a hammer.
Behind you, dum dum.
You need a hammer?
He does.
Need the
Other side.
hammer.
There you go. Yay.
So on the other end, we ended up with a little bit past, which is actually a good thing because it gives us the opportunity to run the outside board out and have it still sit on the beam, which just means I don't have to use, you know, quite the same hardware. Over here, we're a lot past, and that is pretty much solely because these beams are not cut uniformly. They're just kind of shot through and then buzzed at whatever they think is reasonable, or sometimes they're actually leftovers from some other cut. We've had some that have been as long as 5 feet longer than what was called for, and then they just send us, you know, whatever that is on, you know, the remainder of whatever they'd started with. So we could either cut this way back or, you know, spitballing lamp post, since right over here, you know, behind us is parking area. Or what was it you said, Ben?
What?
What did you say we should do with it?
Mount a figurine on it.
Ah, yes. Some slain creature.
An eagle.
A slain eagle. Ben, that's illegal. Don't say that. Beep. All right, so we're starting to run this upper deck. And by upper, I mean it's above my head. It's actually on the lower side of the house. So we got our structure of our deck just about done as far as the substructure goes. And we're just using, you know, a system of H1s, which aren't called for, but I felt like were a good idea and didn't cost that much in time or extra materials. We're using post caps. Our engineer did not say we had to use any like special U's or anything like that. So these are technically a light duty, but they're supposed to be good enough for this application. And that's just going to take the PT posts. There you've got one of those joining the two beams. That's a longer U, and then, but not a heavy duty. And then this one's just going to join this post to the post that goes up through the deck. 3 of those that need installed. This cantilevered section needs the end board installed, and we'll probably put a second board on past that on the end. Right now that board's down there somewhere, I think. And then once that is on, then this is kind of the one thing that the engineers and the designers showed 2 different things. The engineers did not show this requiring any additional support. The design showed that there were 2 4x4 posts coming down out of the corners. And this is going to take quite a stairway coming down to ground level. It's going to be leaned up against that with no other support if we don't have that 4x4 in there. So I bought them. They are down there, ready to go. We are going to go ahead and install those once this framing is in, the same day that we do the posts up at the top on the other deck. And then that way these are just, you know, it's extra insurance just in case the engineer didn't put it in the picture, but it's supposed to be there. I could call and ask, but I just feel comfortable doing it regardless. I think it's going to look just fine. So 2 boards ready to go here on the end, bring it in, and then there is a board down there, and then that, and then we're ready to be able to, you know, start putting the deck boards on, which would be very useful. So working on getting our posts for this level of the lower deck. We've got one of the 2 small beams here, and the other one is right there. And you can see we've got our 2 posts and the 3rd post. So we have everything on the lower spot that we need except for the really big ones. So there's one down there and there's one already up here in the house. And what we're going to try and do is just go ahead and get these guys installed, because we can do like a temp bracer on these outside posts with the LCE4 going this way if we want to, and then get these on. And then that way it's braced in 2 directions. And then we can get our cuts done on our big beam, which the flat cut is pretty easy. Just on the table or on the chop saw, and the chop saw can manage that. And the angle cuts are where the problem is on these. So that cut right there, we've done one, and that took care of both of these 2 beams, but we need to do 2 more. One for that beam coming from here to there, and one from the beam coming from here to here on the outside. So all this debris here, well, not the sawdust, but all of this debris is the result of some stupidity on my part. Thinking that I was sufficiently well enough and over this, whatever it is. I'm still have a cough from like 4 weeks in now almost. Not enough to where I'm worried about it, comes and goes, but when it was still also fatigue, we had a nice day and I figured I'm close enough. So we came out and we started to work on the large porch on the bottom of the house. And there were posts that needed to be cut to length for a specific height, and I'd figured that out previously, only I read the wrong page because I wasn't thinking correctly, and just in a fog, and so there's 3 posts that are gone now, and that's actually right back here. So these 3 posts I will try and find a use for. They are still 8 feet tall, but they're not tall enough for what I need, which is pretty much a full height 10-foot post. And you might think to yourself, boy, that sounds really obvious, and it is really obvious. And man, I'm kind of stupid for doing it, but I did. Haven't done it very much, made any major mistakes that slowed everything down, but had to basically cut all of these off that were on the post because I'd already mounted those, and then we stood the post up and then realized, oops, wrong size. And so I cut those off and then just shattered out all the wood, because these nails, 16 penny .162s, are no joke. So once again, a couple of days from now, we have a nice stretch of weather. We're gonna try and get that porch done. And ahead of that, I'm gonna go ahead and get these metal brackets on the new posts that have arrived, and then we will cut to length. One of them, I believe, should not take any cut at all. One of them will take a small cut, and then one of them maybe ever so slightly short, like an 1/8 or a 1/16 at most. It just depends on exactly what the true measures are. According to my paperwork, we should have one, kind of in that range. So we're gonna get these brackets on, and then we will be ready when we're ready for that work. All right, today's the day. These 4 ding-dongs are going to the butcher. Pretty easy process getting them in here. Just trained them for about a week. Really like this feed. Very spoiling, not what we normally give them, grass clover combo. This has got a lot of extra stuff in it. Just lead them in here every day, and now they're in and they're good to go. So we just gotta close it up. Easy peasy. So now we're off, gonna head off to the butcher, drop them off there, and then after that, this year, for the 3 little piglets. So one of the things that I did to make this easier on myself, given that I don't have a great setup, is I went ahead and got the tractor attached, and that's actually how I got this into place back in here. If you've watched the videos, we're on quite a hill. There's a house down there. And so I just used tractor with the 3-point hitch with a triangle attachment and a hitch ball on the back of that, popped it in there, moved this thing into place, and now I can take it out, get it where I want it on a nice flat spot down by the shop behind me here, and then attach it to my truck for the journey to the butcher. So we're on our way, getting our animals over to the slaughterhouse. It's not a very long drive for us. There's a slaughtery that's actually a lot closer that I prefer to go to, but unfortunately the guinea hogs, the AGH, are just too small. They don't like to slaughter animals that small, and we really only have one slaughterhouse anywhere near us that likes to slaughter them that small, or at least will. And so that's our option. So still not very far, about 20 miles we got to drive. Looks like the girls and our boar all made it. So we're backed up. We're just gonna lead them into one of these stalls in here, and then that's it for them. And there they are. They've got some water. They got a good amount of feed that I just left them. Bye guys. Meet you again soon. This is the town of Scio. The whole downtown fits in these 2 blocks. It's such a cute little old neighborhood through here. Your standard stores you'd find in any small rural hometown, really, but this area is known for covered bridges, and interestingly enough, just a few miles back the other direction, there recently was a covered bridge that got demolished because it got smashed by a semi that was just too tall to pass through. Lots of big grassy fields through here. Oregon has also been known as one of the main grass seed capitals of the world, and so a lot of the valley looks like this, although on these smaller farms, not in the middle of the valley, it's looking less and less like that over time, and more like something else I'm about to show you. So here's a great example right here. Very small field. So this is a new field going in right up here of the same thing. Trees and trees and trees and trees, acres and acres up here. Passing a big haying concern right there. Hazelnuts, in case you hadn't heard. Big in the valley. Lots and lots of blueberries out around here too. In fact, I worked on a grass seed and blueberry farm when I was in my teenage years. It was my first job, driving combine on the grass seed side. So our windows did arrive. These are the 4 replacement ones for the ones that broke when they were first delivered. And yeah, so we're gonna be getting those in along with working the east-facing porch. Thank you for watching.